point out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 647th issue of Energy Week with George Harvey and the amazing Nancy Wolf.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Nancy is a smart girl. You know, she's under 50, so from my point of view, she's a girl.
yes.
Anyway, what we're doing here is a news aggregation show. We'll look at 21 articles, three from each day of the past week, starting with Thursday, October 23rd, and running up to Wednesday, October 29th. And these come from my blog, geoharvey.com. You can go there and find the articles and follow the link to get to them, or you can go to a place on the screen. Very likely, not everybody would be able to do this, but you would very likely find a link to a thing called tiny URL / I think it's / Energy Week 647 with no spaces. And that will have just the stories we're talking about, and it will have links to them, so you can follow along with those. And do we have anything else to say at this point? No, I think we should.
No, let's start the show.
Start the show. Okay.
You've got the image up on the screen.
I've got the image up on the screen.
And our headline here, this is from Clean Technica, and this is the sodium-ion battery revolution has started.
Okay. I guess I should just read the synopsis and then comment. Sodium-ion batteries have been in the works for years, and now they have started to appear in cars and home storage. JAC, in partnership with Volkswagen, has been shipping a vehicle with sodium-ion batteries since 2023. Now Bluetti, which is a home battery company, or it's a company that it may do other things, but it provides home batteries, introduced the Pioneer NA portable power station, NA being sodium. And I want to explain something about this girl you see in the picture. Yeah. She's blonde.
Yes.
Now, I have done research every day for 13 years, and I've probably looked at, on average, 300-400 articles a day. Mm-hmm. So I'm way past 1 million articles, and in those 1 million articles, you're gonna get articles that have nothing to do with energy or climate change. They just creep through the cracks, and there they are. And years ago, I came up with a peer-reviewed paper about blondes and intelligence. And according to this paper, it doesn't matter whether the blonde is a man or a woman. It doesn't matter whether the hair color is natural or artificial, but when a blonde walks into a room, on average, the people in that room lose 11 points of their IQs. And I look at this girl and I feel stupid. But there she is. You know, she in the middle of a power outage, she's using a blender to...
Yeah, she's going to have some fresh juice,
She's definitely smarter than I am.
I mean, she's got her battery right there, ready to make it happen.
And by the way, I have a battery which is smaller than that, but it's big. And, it's enough to keep things going. Now,
like to have juice.
Yeah. And of course, on the right side of this picture, you have... It'll keep a hairdryer going for 36 minutes. It'll run a TV for 7.5 hours. It's keep your refrigerator going for 18.5 hours. These are they're probably good things to have around.
Yeah.
one thing that I should point out is that a lot of utilities, and I don't know if Green Mountain Power does this today, but in the past it has. And a lot of utilities across the United States will, if you want to take a Tesla battery, home battery, into your home, they'll just put it in.
Yes.
And the condition is that they have to be able to use the battery to take power out of it themselves if they need to, if there's excess demand or whatever. And it saves money. It saves everybody money. All customers save money from this. So we will return to batteries, but there it is.
Yeah.
Okay, we started on Thursday, October 23rd. I should have mentioned that. Our next article, same day.
Yep.
We have a picture of a Tesla and a guy named Dietz. And every time I see Dietz, I think of the movie Mr. Dietz Goes to Washington. And have you ever heard of that movie?
I'm not sure. I've heard of Mr. Something Goes to Washington. I don't know, but it's Dietz.
Well, there are a couple.
Mr. Smith goes.
Mr. Smith goes to Washington. Yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna start up here.
Tesla.
So this is from ABC News, and Tesla's profits plunged again last quarter despite selling more vehicles.
Elon Musk is going to have to get used to this, I'm afraid, because people have not forgiven him. Tesla, and there's other things about Tesla that are very disturbing to me. And they're not his fault. They're just the market. Tesla, which is run by Elon Musk, reported that it sold more vehicles in the past 3 months after boycotts hit hard earlier this year. But profits still fell sharply. In fact, three-quarter earnings at Tesla fell to $1.4 billion, which sounds like a lot, but it's only 39 cents per share. And that is a fall from 2.2 billion or 62 cents per share a year earlier. The thing that bothers me about this is if you combine those two together, you're at about $1 a share. If they were getting $1 a share quarterly in half the year, that means $2 for the year. And I've known people who would invest based on the returns per share. And there is no way they would say Tesla was worth even 15% of the price of the stock on the market. Yeah. And I don't know how well Tesla is going to be able to hold that up, because I regard their market valuation as being mostly, I don't know what it is, puff. You know.
Well, this is all. I mean, that stuff is all estimations. That's all about what we think other people might do. It's like it's just it's a guess.
It's a guess, but in this particular case, the guess is.
Yep.
Okay, now we have a picture of a mosquito.
Oh, yes, we do. So, this is from Euronews, and here we have mosquitoes found in Iceland for the first time following record-breaking temperatures.
Mosquitoes were detected in Iceland for the first time on record. Up until this month, Iceland was one of 2 places that didn't have a mosquito population, largely thanks to its inhospitable climate. The only remaining mosquito-free haven, if you want to live there to stay away from mosquitoes, is Antarctica. Now, I can't imagine a good reason I would want to live in Antarctica.
Apparently, it's not mosquitoes. It's not to experience mosquitoes, but...
Well, I'll tell you, when I was a kid living across the river in New Hampshire, we had mosquitoes that were unbelievable. You could not walk out the door of the house without having 6 or 8 of them buzzing around you. And when my kids were about that age in the same house, there were very few mosquitoes. But that was the year, that ticks showed up. We had never had ticks before that. So there are worse things than mosquitoes. Okay, we're up to Friday, October 24th. And this article is one of my favorite.
Yeah, so this is from Clean Technica, and it's YASA axial flux electric motor. Makes over 1,000 HP, but weighs just 28 pounds.
UK-based YASA is showing off a new and improved version of a motor that amazed the world earlier this year. It weighs just 28 pounds, but it is capable of producing 1,018 horsepower at peak power. That is a world record for energy density at 59 kilowatts per kilogram. That young man, who is from the thing on his shirt, looks like he's working for Mercedes.
Right.
Is holding a 1,000 horsepower motor. And I went to, artificial intelligence Google thing, which, by the way, you absolutely cannot trust anything that tells you.
No, it makes stuff up if it doesn't know, of course.
It's horrible. But I said, how much does a 1,000 horsepower DC motor weigh? Or how big is it? And it said a 1,000 horsepower DC motor is a large piece of industrial equipment. That guy's holding it right in his hands. An example measuring approximately 6 feet long, 5 feet wide, and 3 feet high, and weighing about 9,000 pounds. Now, axial flux motors were the first electric motors invented. They were invented, I believe, by Michael Faraday in the 1820s, early 1820s, as I recall. The problem is nobody could figure out how to manufacture them reliably. The second thing is nobody could figure out what to do about the fact that they overheated. They didn't have a way to conduct the heat away from them. And this motor, I've read, is 95 to 97% efficient. So it's not going to have 1,000 horsepower worth of heat to get rid of, but it's possible to manufacture them now because we have figured out in the last 25 years or 30 years how to make them reliably and how to dissipate the heat that they produce. Now, YASA was approached by BMW. They wanted to buy YASA, and YASA said they would sell it. They would sell their company to BMW, but they wanted to spin certain things off first. And one thing that they spun off was a company that makes the same motor for airplanes. And another thing may have been, this is apparently pretty easy to do with DC motors. You can do it with AC motors too if you know how, but it's pretty easy with DC motors. If you have a way to turn the motor without giving it electricity, it will produce electricity.
Yeah.
So, all right. You
Sounds
can
like
use,
a windmill.
Yeah, those things. That thing could be used in a 1 megawatt wind turbine. You put two in, and you've got 2 megawatts. When I started doing this show, all wind turbines were onshore for practical purposes, and 2 megawatts was an ordinary wind turbine. 2 of those things. You could have a nacelle on that thing that was smaller than a garbage can. The other thing is a Douglas DC-4, which was a 4-engine propeller-driven airplane that was developed during the Second World War, as I recall. It might have been before. I can remember flying on these things as a kid. It had 4 engines, each of which was 1,450 horsepower. So its 4 engines were about 6 times as powerful as that one. And they were Each one weighed 1,605 pounds, which is more than 57 times as heavy as the YASA motor. We could have very effective, not very fast, but very effective short to medium range airplanes. The DC-4 would not fly from New York to London. It would go to Labrador and then maybe to Iceland before it got to London. But, you know, it was a full day trip. It was 23 hours, as I understand, 17 to 23 hours. So we should get going again. Mm-hmm. Do you have any comments on that?
This one, no.
Okay.
I don't have comments on this one.
Okay. No. We're up to this. This wind farm, I believe, is in South Australia, but I might be wrong.
Well, so this is from Renews, and Neon opens South Australia's largest wind farm.
Neon inaugurated its 412 megawatt Goyder South wind farm, the largest in South Australia, and the biggest project in the company's global portfolio. Sited in South Australia's mid-north region. Mid-north region of South Australia?
Mid-north, south. Yes.
Okay. We have a town called Northumberland, and I think there's East Northumberland. There certainly is East Northfield and West Northfield in Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. The old Northfield train station used to be in West Northfield, which was on the other side of the river from East Northfield. And to get to Northfield from where we lived, we would have to drive south through East Northfield to get to Northfield. It's crazy. Yep. All right.
Try growing up in a grid. Weird.
How in a grid?
Oh, DC? Yeah, grid. Oh. Grid.
The reason I asked
complicated because there's 4 versions of the same street and they meet at once and you have to deal with it. It's First Street. There's 4 First Streets and they're all hanging out together when you get to the end of the road.
There is a street called Elm Street that runs from Elliott Street to Flat Street. Mm-hmm. Only it used to be that it ran down and then it forked into Elm Street, the west side, and Elm Street, the east side, but they were both called Elm Street. So there was a 3-way intersection that created the corner of Elm and Elm. But that's not as bad as some things that I've seen. I can tell you about a place in New Hampshire where there were 5 roads, all of which had the name Ashwillet in their name. And they met.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. If there's 4 First Streets, like which one is the one I'm trying to go to? Oh, yeah, we're also in 4 different quadrants at once. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, sited in South Australia's mid-north region, sorry about that, that's what it says. The 2-stage development's 75 turbines will increase the state's wind production by over 20%. Now, we're going on to another piece on wind power, and this one's from China Daily.
Yeah, so nation raises target for wind power installation.
This is crazy. I mean, not crazy horrible, crazy kind of good. China has drastically increased its national targets for wind power capacity, aiming for 1.3 terawatts by 2030 and an ambitious 5 terawatts by 2060. Ben Blackwell, the CEO of Global Wind Energy of the Global Wind Energy Council, said, quote, China's ambitious targets instill optimism that the world can still meet its broader climate goals. That's saying something.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
That person has confidence.
That person also knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, he wouldn't be the CEO of the Global Wind Energy Council if he was completely lacking in knowledge
of wind.
That's a position that I think maybe, no. I was going to say certain people in Washington should retire from their current jobs and try to get that gig.
Learn about wind.
Yeah. We're up to Saturday, October 25th.
Yes. So here we have
A picture of Abu Dhabi.
yes, and this is from Clean Technica, and Masdar pushes the limits of solar with new round-the-clock system.
Interesting. Yeah, round-the-clock solar systems are coming up all over the place. Masdar aims to realize the full potential of solar and battery system in Abu Dhabi, replacing traditional generating assets completely. So they're going to get rid of all of their... So far, the solar system has 2.1 gigawatts of the planned 5.2 gigawatt system installed. This thing is planned to be, if you've been down to seen the solar system at the old landfill, it's going to be 1,000 times that size, because that's a 5 megawatt system. And the capacity of the battery will be 19.2 gigawatt hours. That's a lot.
Yeah. That is a lot.
Okay, should we go on?
Let's go on.
Let's go on. We have a picture of a very contemplative orangutan.
Yes. So, is he thinking about this from Euronews? Extinctions have slowed, but experts warn human activity still poses significant risk.
Okay, I read these things, I make note of them, I don't necessarily believe them.
Okay.
I think the people who did this at the University of Arizona undoubtedly did their due diligence. But, you know, this is from Euronews. New research from the University of Arizona unexpectedly found that extinctions in plants, land vertebrates, and arthropods peaked about 100 years ago. So why would they have peaked in 1925? Got me. The paper was published in the journal Proceedings of the Royal Society of London. This is all very respectable in terms of...
Yes, I know this, but I have thoughts here, which are different than your thoughts.
Okay, I want to hear.
Which is that, yes, we are bad for the environment. And I'll give you a couple of ways that we're bad for the environment locally. We're bad for the environment locally when we go hiking in mud season. That's bad. We're bad for the environment. We're bad for the environment when we destroy ecosystems without thinking about it. When we're going and through it, just our own behavior is hurting other.
Who would know that it's bad to go hiking in mud season?
I'm saying that when you step on them. There's so much biodiversity that you ruin just by going through. I remember, pandemic times, people started going through these national parks.
Yes.
And I listened to a national parks podcast. I love it. It's fantastic. But it gives me news of the national park system.
Yes.
And that's what was happening, is that the amount of destruction that was going on because people are exploring. And with the popularity of this kind of thing, people started going out more. So, but then you also have industrialization. That could be part of this issue too.
Yes,
so you have so many things, so many reasons why this is likely to be true. I'm not going to say it's absolutely true, but yeah, I probably agree with that.
Well, I was kind of looking at this and saying, really? 100 years ago was when it peaked?
National parks?
Yeah. And that was only a few years after that great president invented national parks.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, he invented wildlife preserves. Talking about Teddy Roosevelt.
No, that's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah. He did the whole thing. He was all this conservation man. But
he was definitely a conservation
He was conservation.
Man.
Him and Muir. It's a whole thing. But that time period.
We have to be smart about how we do things. We can't just go traipsing around.
And that was, and there's a lot in there. But,
yes, there is. Okay, I'm going to go on.
Yeah, let's go on.
We have this. This is a picture of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
That is a picture of Colorado the way I remember it from when I lived in Colorado.
The Rockies, yeah.
When I was 5. we would drive out of Denver and go to my grandfather's house in Kansas, and all the way at the other end of Kansas, just north of Kansas
So
City.
interesting. My old roommate, he is from Colorado, from Denver area, and his grandma lives in Kansas. He told me all the time about going to Kansas.
But you cross the plains when you do that.
People from Colorado.
And I see this, and I think about the foothills and the plains and stuff like that.
I know all about that.
And I remember I lived in Denver, Colorado at a time when I can remember going with my father downtown and seeing groups of 2 or 3 Indians standing on street corners wearing top hats with feathers in them. Now, we're not talking about 1970 here or 1960. This is like 1950. And it was a different place in those days. Okay.
Of course. So,
what do you got for a...
Yeah, so much going on here. But this is from Clean Technica, and Colorado is increasing its EV purchasing incentives.
Even though the federal EV buying incentives are gone in the United States, the state of Colorado still has some for its own residents. There are good, maybe we should move to Colorado for a week or two.
I mean, I have things to say about that. Yeah.
Okay. There are good reasons for this. Just to start, fully electric vehicles don't have toxic tailpipe emissions, which harm human health and can lead to premature death.
Yeah, you're also talking about, if we talk about, for example, Denver or Boulder, you talk about these are areas where people are against fracking. They don't want fracking in. They are very committed. I've been in touch with some of these 350.org type of organizations, my film's out there. And so this group of people, a reason why having a nuclear site there is wild to them is because of how motivated they are to stop a lot of the, and it went from being this what red state to very purple, and now it's just kind of it's much of an environmentalist kind of place.
Yeah, I will tell you, it's not what it was when I was a kid.
No, and there's different parts of the state too, but when we're talking like Denver and Boulder, that's where a lot of those folks live.
And I remember riding down the roads. Again, this would have been about 1951.
So before Rocky Flats was put in.
Yes, and
so your lungs were pre Rocky Flats.
My
That's
mother
very good for you.
Was complaining about the number of bullet holes in the traffic signs, and my father said, "Oh, people from Colorado don't do that." And she said, "Well, how did they get there?" And he said, "I think it must have been Texans who come up." So my mother says, "Are you going to tell me that Texans drive to Colorado to shoot at us at traffic signs?" But that's one of the things they did. Okay. We are up to Sunday, October 26th, and we have a picture of a solar farm.
Yeah, so this is from Energies Media. Voltalia commissions 45 megawatt solar plant in Poland.
Voltalia announced its plans to enter the Polish energy market. Poland has been doing a lot in the last year or two. Recently, when it inaugurated the 45 megawatt Clifton solar project in Dorset, England. So that explains why it's called Clifton. It's not in Poland, it's in England. The company has been expanding its portfolio in the European Union in recent years, and it noted that it plans to commission a similar site in Poland. Now, there's a lot more to say about this, but just out of curiosity, when I was in college, I had a lot of friends who were very interested in energy, and they were ecologically conscious. They were very conservative politically, but they saw serious problems with our dependence on fossil fuels. And we talked about solar power. Now, this is in about 1970. And the thing holding up solar power in those days was the fact that it was so expensive. It was unbelievably expensive. 100 times what it is now. And I remember one friend in particular saying, in the future, the cost of solar power is going to go down. We don't know how low it's going to go. It will be something that can be installed in California, in New Mexico, in Texas, in Arizona, in Florida. Whether we'll ever have solar power in New Jersey or New England is kind of up in the air. If I had started talking about Poland, you would have said, I'm not so sure it'll get there. And I checked. Poland, the southernmost part of Poland is 49 degrees north. The northernmost part of Vermont is 45 degrees north. Poland is way north. We're talking about Hudson's Bay type north. So that's where they're putting in solar. What are they going to do with this solar? Well, they're going to be making a lot of electricity during the summer and not so much during the winter. That's just the way it is. It happens that it's useful to remember that when the sun is not shining much during the winter, certainly at night, that's when the wind is strongest. And we have these things called transmission lines, and with transmission lines, the wind is always blowing. So there it is. Okay. This one is depressing.
Yeah, I would say so. This is from Clean Technica.
Yeah.
Risks of Atlantic current collapsing much higher than we had expected.
Climate risks just keep growing. Well, there's a reason for that. And the reason is we just keep
making
burning.
it worse.
Yeah. But it's not great to hear that one of the possibilities that is most concerning is getting more likely. That is the collapse of the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, also known as the Gulf Stream, which brings warm water from the tropics to Europe. Now, they're not talking about collapse this year or next, or even next decade. They're talking about the collapse kind of possibly at the end of this century. Nevertheless, it's slowing down, and that slowdown is just going to see, global warming causing Northern Europe to get colder. That's what can happen.
I just want to say that this is the collapse of the amok, which is, it is run amok.
Yes.
It is run amok.
Yeah.
This amok has been running.
Yes.
That's all. I just wanted to make that joke. But
they have no idea when this is going to happen, or even if it's going to happen, but apparently a couple of years ago they were saying there was a 30% probability, and now they're saying there's a 75% probability.
yeah, that's a bit more.
It's a bit more. Okay.
Let's go on.
We have a picture of Ursula von der Leyen.
Yes, we do. So
She's blonde, and all those people with her are stupid.
there's also a blonde on the other side
Well,
of those two stupid
blondes
people.
make each other stupid.
Oh, is it? Okay. I'm just... Okay, so this is from Euronews, clearly. This is European news. European Union seeks to end dependency on China for rare earths.
This is really interesting because that motor that we were talking about earlier doesn't have any rare earths in it. You don't need rare earths, which means that you can build wind turbines with no rare earths. Okay, the European Union, is working on a strategy to reduce its dependency on Chinese critical raw materials, according to Ursula von der Leyen of the European Commission. The renewed strategy comes in a response to China's decision to implement tighter restrictions on rare earth exports. The problem with rare earths is not that they're rare, because they aren't. The problem with rare earths is that they were really hard to extract from ore. There's 17 of them, as I recall, and they're chemically so alike that they're really hard to And when I was working in the chemical industry, I used to work with rare earths. I probably have a fair amount of measurable amount of gadolinium oxide still in my lungs. But I liked working with gadolinium oxide, by the way. But I felt like I knew a little bit about rare earths because I was working with them, and they've always interested me. And gadolinium, by the way, is used for nuclear power plants. I think it's a moderator, but they use it. And the thing about rare earths is we could mine rare earths in the United States. Mm-hmm. We could extract them from the ore and separate them in the United States. All we have to do is build the factories and the mines to do that. The mines already exist. We had mines. They were shut down. So, okay. Here we have a man I don't like very much, I'm afraid.
So, this is from Yahoo News Canada. Vladimir Putin unveils tiny flying Chernobyl nuclear missile.
Now, the reason I put this in the show was because when I did searches on nuclear energy, probably half of the material I was finding related specifically to this problem. Mm-hmm. I'll read the synopsis. President Vladimir Putin said Russia tested a nuclear-capable missile, meaning it can carry a nuclear warhead, and is preparing to deploy it. Putin's military maneuver comes just after a planned meeting with President Donald Trump collapsed. The weapon runs on nuclear power, so it's got a nuclear generator in the back that will push it along. It doesn't use chemicals other than the nuclear, according to the Kremlin. Now, I just wanted to say a lot of people were very upset about this.
Yeah.
And this is happening at the same time that Russia is recommissioning T-34 tanks to use them in Ukraine.
Yeah.
T-34 tanks were made during the Second World War. They actually have Second World War tanks going up against the Ukrainians. And that shows you how far into trouble the Russian military is. And the factories that they have in Russia cannot produce tanks fast enough to replace the ones that are being destroyed. And unfortunately for the Russians, the Ukrainians can destroy the most modern tanks almost as easily as it would destroy these old T-34s. Because the Ukrainians are fighting one kind of war and the Russians are fighting another. And by the way, that fact had me convinced very early in the war that Ukraine was going to win. And the reason is because the Russians were fighting a terrorism war where they were bombing apartment buildings, hospitals, schools.
Just straight up annihilation.
Yeah, and they just wanted to terrify everybody. Yep. And meantime, the ordnance going in the opposite direction toward the Russians was blowing up tanks and munitions, and of late it's been munitions factories. And in fact, a few days ago, the Ukrainians sent drones that went way north of Moscow and blew up a ship in a canal that goes from St. Petersburg to, I don't know, Murmansk. It's on the White Sea. This is like hundreds of miles from the Ukrainian border. The Ukrainians could be bombing. They could bomb the Kremlin, and they can do it accurately enough that I think they could just fly a thing right into the front door.
This right here, this story, this is a scare tactic.
That's exactly
what
it.
this is. This is a scare tactic.
Yeah.
This is look, I got nukes. I got nukes, and I'm going to use them.
And
you better be worried.
Yeah, and he did the same thing yesterday or today.
He did with Zaporizhia. I mean, that was the whole thing with Zaporizhia. They were like, "Oh, we got you.
Yes.
We got you."
And today or yesterday, he said, and in addition to that, we have drones that operate underwater. And so what? And Donald
submarines?
Trump.
I mean, don't submarines already exist?
Yeah, but they're not drones.
Right. Yeah.
To his credit, Donald Trump said in response to that, yeah, and we've got nuclear submarines right off your coast.
That's accurate. Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah, it is.
It's rare that man is accurate. Really rare that man is accurate.
Well,
okay.
All right. Let's go on.
I won't get sued, man.
We have the Clark Creek Wind Farm.
Yeah, so this is from Energy Source and Distribution. Squadron opens first stage of Clark Creek Wind Farm.
Squadron Energy, that's the name of a company, has opened the first stage of Clark Creek Wind Farm in North Queensland. By the way, one of the reasons we have so much news from Australia is because there's so much going on there. The 100 turbine, 450 megawatt wind farm is 150 kilometers northwest of Rockhampton, in case you happen to know where Rockhampton is. It can produce enough electricity to provide annual power needs of 33,000 Queensland homes. Now, is it going to do that? No, it won't. Why? Because over a third of the houses in Queensland, and maybe it's over half, I don't know, I didn't check, I should have solar power.
I figured that you were going to say something like that. I kind of saw the glint in your eye with that one, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Now we have a picture of the Yangtze River.
Oh yeah, this is a fun one. This is from Clean Technica. The Yangtze River is becoming the world's largest electrified trade corridor.
Who'd have thought? The Yangtze River is a living demonstration of the shipping electrification process. It connects manufacturing centers in China's interior with export hubs of Shanghai, Nanjing, and Ningbo. The physical river is matched by a set of electrical arteries all along its length. And I will point out here, I don't have any special reason to believe that any of these ships is actually electric. But there isn't any smoke coming from any of them. And what does that tell you? Well, we have to go on unless you've got more to say. We're up to Tuesday, October 28th, and we have a picture of oats being harvested in Sweden.
Yes, we do. So this is from Euronews. Climate change is making oat cultivation viable in Northern Europe.
Climate change is making cereal cultivation viable in areas of Europe that were previously ruled out due to their extreme conditions. To grow well, oats need temperatures over 10 degrees Celsius, which is 50 degrees Fahrenheit, for 110 days. But the Arctic climate is changing and oats can grow in the far north. Far north, Finland, Iceland. There it is. Okay. More on that?
Yep. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. So this is from Renews. Scottish Power installs a HVDC station at East Anglia 3.
HVDC is high voltage direct current. And the situation has changed radically in the last 40 years for direct current. Scottish Power Renewables installed its first high voltage direct current offshore converter station at the 1,400 megawatt East Anglia 3 wind farm off Suffolk, the Suffolk being in English County. The 10,700 ton, 7-story structure, it was lifted and secured last week by Hirema Marine Contractors crane vessel Sleipnir, the developer says. Do you recognize the name Sleipnir? Sleipnir was the name of Odin's horse. He had 8 legs and was the fastest horse on earth.
Okay, yep, there you go. There you go.
Okay, should we go on?
Let's go on.
Okay. We have an Angie image of solar power and wind power.
Yeah, this is from Renews. Meta signs 600 megawatt Texas solar deal with NG.
Angie North America signed additional solar purchase permits, agreements with Meta, expanding their total collaboration to more than 1,300 megawatts of renewable energy capacity across 4 projects in Texas. The new agreements included the 600 megawatt Swenson Ranch solar project in Stonewall County. And these things are very broadly supported in Texas. You know, there are people in Texas who are anti-wind, anti-solar, whatever.
Yeah.
But I haven't talked to any, and I have actually sat down at the phone and dialed.
Oh yes, I know. Yes, you have contacted people who live in a wind farm.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
People who live in a wind farm.
Wind farm.
And
yes.
I've looked all over at wind farms. This is about solar, but I've looked at wind farms and found things that are in them. Convenience stores, schools, complete with their track. You know, this is all in the wind farm. And a wind farm can spread over an area bigger than a county, but that doesn't mean anybody moves out. And it doesn't mean that the agricultural production is changed. One thing that did change that county or the area that I was looking at in the past was oil rigs, because I would find oil rigs that had obviously spilled oil in, you know, an area that might have been 60 or 80 feet by 30 or 40 feet, just black. And that'll be a while before that grows anything again.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, we're up to Wednesday, October 29th.
Yeah.
And we have a picture of a nuclear plant. That nuclear plant, by the way, is not in the United States. I believe it's in Belgium. But it's a nuclear plant.
Yeah. So this is from MSN. U.S. strikes $80 billion deal for new nuclear power plants.
U.S. government signed a partnership with the Canadian owners. This, I think, is interesting. The United States is dealing with Canada. Why? Because it's nuclear power, and Westinghouse is no longer an American company. Mm-hmm. The Canadian owners of Westinghouse Electric aiming to build at least $80 billion in nuclear reactors. It is one of the most ambitious plans. It's one of the most ambitious planned failures in U.S. atomic energy in decades, underscoring President Donald Trump's focus on oil, gas, coal, and nuclear. And so how much are we going to get for $80 billion?
We are going to get some waste, I will say. We're going to get some waste. We're going to get some waste that nobody knows how to clean up. And we're going to get some waste that people will say they know how to clean up, but that's not backed up by any actual knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think.
How many gigawatts of generating capacity do you think we'll get for $80 billion?
Depends on when you're looking for that.
Well, I'm going to say using conventional technology that we've used in the past, which we could do.
So in 20 years, you mean?
Yeah.
When it's built? Okay.
Yeah. We would get about 3 gigawatts for $80 billion. Now, if we do small modular reactors instead of conventional reactors, we'll get a little bit less. Because anyway.
Where are the plants? Yeah. Where yeah.
Now, how much would we get for $80 billion worth of solar power?
We probably have already another source.
For $80 billion, we'd get about 80 gigawatts. assuming that the cost doesn't go down a lot.
Right. Then
Which it will.
Which it will, and then we get more. Yeah. And then you add a wind farm, and then if you add a wind farm to this equation,
we've got so much in the way of opportunity.
You can spin that horsepower coin that he was pulling, and then you get even more.
And you can build batteries and
yeah.
stuff like that, and batteries provide better electricity than nuclear, because nuclear power, unfortunately for those who are really interested in nuclear power,
yeah.
nuclear power is inflexible. Now, you can build a nuclear power plant that is flexible, and we have lots of them in this country, on naval vessels. But just to show you how wrong that idea gets, we use them in submarines, we use them in aircraft carriers. We did have a force of, I think, 9 cruisers that had nuclear power plants in them, all gone. They started producing them in the 1970s, and by the year 2000, all of them were already deactivated.
Safety,
It
you can't,
wasn't,
if you can't, okay, it's not safety.
It
Okay.
wasn't safety, it was cost. It cost a huge amount of money to keep these things going.
But that's what I mean is they have to make, when you make something and it's old, you have to make updates to it. You have to make it modern. You have to modernize it. You have to make it able to withstand the climate and all these things.
The thing is, these ships had to be able to start producing, they had to switch on super fast.
Mm-hmm.
And nuclear plants don't do that
No.
very easily. At least the ones that are so far. What they do is they heat a huge boiler, and it's hard to heat water. Water does not heat easily. It's one of the hardest things in the world to heat up. In fact, at one point I figured out that if you took ice, 1 gram of ice at 0 degrees Celsius, just ready to melt, and you put in enough heat to melt it, and then enough heat to take it to 100 degrees Celsius, and then enough heat just to turn it into steam. If you calculated what that was, and you started with 1 gram of iron at 0 degrees Celsius and put that amount of heat into that iron, at the end of receiving that amount of heat, that iron would be glowing so hot you wouldn't want to look at it. Mm-hmm. Because iron is relatively easy to heat up and water is not. And when you're doing nuclear power, you're heating water.
Yes.
So they build huge boilers because they're cheaper than, I'm sorry, I don't like nuclear very much.
Really?
Okay. Now
we have an article from Euronews.
Yep.
Ukraine's long-range strikes cut 20% of Russia's oil refining capacity, Zelensky says.
I'm sorry. I'm kind of amazed that they say that it was 20% and not more. They attacked refineries in Orenburg, which is almost to the Urals. They attacked refineries north of Moscow from Ukraine. And, they carry this off. And the Russians, I feel sad for the Russians. I don't feel sad for Putin, but I feel sad for the Russians.
Right. Yes.
All right. Ukraine strikes on refineries deep inside Russia reduced Moscow's oil refining capacity by 20%, said Ukrainian President Zelensky, citing intelligence from Western governments. So he's getting this from the Germans, from the British, whatever, and possibly Americans. Over 90% of the deep strikes were carried out by weapons made in Ukraine. Now, this particular missile in this thing is not one of the weapons they used for this. This is a Neptune missile, which is an anti-ship missile. And they appeared first really early in the war, and they're very effective. And the Russians didn't know what to do about them. And they were entirely designed and manufactured in Ukraine. And there's a lesson for all of this, and that is don't start wars.
It's bad for the environment.
It is certainly bad for the environment. Okay, one last article.
Yes.
And this is, we have an offshore wind turbine, and yes, go ahead.
Yep. So this is from Renews. Orlen secures 800 million euros for offshore wind projects.
Orlen has signed financing agreements worth 805 million euros with Bank Gospodarstwa, I'm going to say that, Krajovego, to accelerate the development of offshore wind portfolio under Poland's National Recovery Plan. The funding will support the Baltic Power and Baltic East projects Ukraine claims to have reduced Russia's oil refining. Wow, I got the wrong.
Yeah, so there one.
I got that into this by accident. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Again, we're back to Poland. And the Poland is just going after whatever they can find.
I mean, since I've been on the show, we have reported on Eastern Europe upping their ante
that's right.
with renewables. So yeah, this is to me just the pattern.
Yes.
Continuously,
Well,
these countries are really doing that.
They were dependent on Russia. Poland had its own coal, but it was dependent on Russia's coal, gas, oil. And Russia, I think the reason why Russia attacked Ukraine was because Germany was shutting down its nuclear power plants at the time of the attack. They had got to a point where they were not going to try to turn them back on again. And the Russians said, okay, if we stop putting oil into Europe and gas into Europe, they're going to have really bad winters. So they're not going to stop us. And it harks back to Vladimir Putin's taking Crimea. And his words were, the bear does not ask permission.
Yeah. Yep.
And I thought what he's saying when he said that was he didn't care about what other people thought. He was just going to take what he felt like taking. And I think that he knew, I'm certain that he knew, 65% of money imported into Russia was being put to Russia in exchange for fossil fuels.
Yep.
And he wanted to get what he could get before the Europeans
Everybody
stopped.
pulled out of that tunnel.
They were already pulling out.
Yep.
So what has he got to lose? Well, he's found out a few things about what he's got to lose.
But this is what you do. You start a war when you need something and you want to tell the story a different way. You start a war.
Yeah, the Japanese did that when they attacked Pearl Harbor. Why was it? It was because they wanted to have enough rice for Japan, which they were going to take from the Chinese. But the Americans were going to cut off their fuel and their iron, so they needed to get a path to Indonesia secured. So they were this was not a racist war on their part. It was, they were convinced that they needed to have access to the things they needed in order to prosper. And the Japanese army, did what it did. We're running over here.
We are run over.
Okay, I'm going to say goodbye.
Bye.
Have an endearingly memorable week.
Yes.
And yes, see you next. We hope you come back next time.